Hello guys and welcome back to the Crazy About Kickoff YouTube channel. Now today we're going to discuss the Carabao Cup final. Obviously I'm quite happy, John's quite disappointed about that. You went in your John and it was one of the best 0-0 games that I can remember. How was it for you in the stadium though?
Yeah, look, I think it probably might be the best 0-0. I think there's pretty much everything you'd want in a game apart from the goals, but look, the chances were there for both teams. The stadium was good. I think even though the Carabao Cup's maybe not as prestigious as the FA Cup, I think what's good about it is the ticket allocation for it is always split pretty much 50-50. So you had a whole sea of red with Liverpool, and then you had the whole sea of
Yeah.
blue, and both fans obviously giving it a lot. Like we talked about the rivalry and the build up, and you could feel the excitement in the stadium, and the game just added to that with the chances teams had and the slight controversies which we'll talk about. But look, it was a really good game. I think it was only going to be decided that way because of how even and how well matched the two sides were during the game. So yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't win, but I think there's a lot of positives as well that we can take out of it as going forward this season and maybe even into next season for Chelsea as well.
Yeah, I think obviously, like you said, great 0-0. I mean, Chelsea had 1.84 XG and Liverpool had 2.41. So it's like it could have been a game that ended 2-all. And we'll move on now to talk about them decisions that you mentioned. I think first was the goal or the kite in red? I can't remember.
I think it
Um,
was the Virgil van Dijk
the Van Dijk goal.
offside.
For me, I think it should stand. I don't think he does interrupt James really. James literally gets past him and nearly gets to Mane, so I don't think there's really much in it. For me, anyway.
I think it's one of them where I think you see that a lot in when set pieces are being taken, where players do try and just block defensive runners to try and give people advantages, and it was one of them where I think because you wouldn't ever know if because obviously Van Dijk's the one in the offside position, and I think because you'd never really be able to tell if Van Dijk wasn't in that position how it would have impacted the opportunity. I think that's why the referee had to potentially give it because not because he thought he's definitely stopped him, but he's gone. Well, I can't say that he wouldn't have it wouldn't have impacted it, and because of that
Yeah.
reason, I think that's why I give it. But in the stadium, it was a really weird one because it came up with the VAR decision for the offside, and then the referee went over to the monitor. So everyone was like, "Why is he going over to the monitor for an offside call?" Because obviously that they don't do that. And then obviously it became clearer as people got stuff through on the Twitters and stuff. But yeah, it's one of them where it probably could have been given as a goal on another day, but it is just what it is with those games. And I think it's probably maybe from my opinion, it's maybe the right decision purely because of you don't know what the impact would have been, rather than it definitely would have. He definitely impeded him enough, or he didn't impede him enough.
Yeah, at the time I was very, very angry with the decision, but watching it back, I'm like 50-50, as you say. Probably could be given, probably could have given. We've seen it not given before with the Maguire goal. I think it was against Burnley, or maybe Maguire blocked someone off for for a Varane goal, actually, I'm thinking, if I remember right. But yeah, so it's like at least they're consistent on this VAR matter, unlike the majority of others.
Mm.
Now we'll move on to the Lukaku offside. Now, I've seen the pictures and I just maybe think they're compensating for not giving that Virgil van Dijk goal for me because I think it's onside.
Uh, it's look. I think you've got. It's one of them where you'd love to be able to say that you trust the lines and you trust VAR to do its job, but as we've seen time and time again, you can't look. We've seen some shocking offside calls. I remember I think it was near the start of last season with Liverpool Everton with the Mane goal right at the end when it finished 2-2, and he looked clearly onside, and it was like must have been like some arm hair or something that they found to be. I think the issue with this one is, and it's an issue that is with a lot of these tight offside calls, is that one, the way they put the lines up and where they placed them always seems to be different. So when you see the lines, it looks like they've put it on Lukaku's elbow almost. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, it
well,
did.
if the idea of the rule is he can score if he's offside with a goal scoring part, I'd love to have known what
can't
happened if
score with it,
if
yeah.
he'd put it in with his elbow, because they would have ruled it out. But and it's
Yeah.
another one as well where if you move maybe the camera frame back, because you can't precisely put the camera frame on when Chalobah makes contact with the ball, then maybe when you put the lines up, he is onside. And look, they talked about all these things about having thicker lines to help with this, like establish whether. But yeah, once again, it's one of them where you think on another day maybe whoever's in charge of the VAR, maybe do they do the lines a bit differently and maybe it gets given. But it just was one of those games where decisions were always gonna play a part, and we said it in the preview, and I think that was the same today. But yeah.
Now, another decision, the Naby Keita potential red card. Now, for me, in real time, it didn't look like a red card. But since I've watched it back, it's a bit dodgy.
It's naughty. It's one of them. I'm not going to lie. When it happened, a lot of people thought it was Chalobah who
Give way around. Yeah,
made
no,
the
same
foul.
at first when I first watched it.
Yeah, and it wasn't until you look back and you see that Chalobah gets there just slightly ahead, and then Keita, and then you see the photo of where Keita's leg, his studs ended up on Chalobah's.
But we can't trust still images. They make it every challenge like that. They make it look 10 times worse.
Exactly.
There is still image. You've got to judge it on the video, and I think the fact that I feel like Keita just touched the ball first, maybe, and I think that's what saved them.
Potentially, but
just about.
Once again, you're looking like the ref. Why is the ref not using the tools he's got available to him? And there's the whole point of, we've seen red cards before and yellow cards being given where the player's got the ball, but it's been deemed dangerous or violent conduct still. But I think from a new look, you as a Chelsea fan, obviously getting a man sent off for Liverpool would have given us a strong advantage in the game, especially as it went on and when players are starting to get tired and we're trying to play. But it also, as a neutral perspective, it probably would have ruined the game, which is not what you want. And it is once again another one where different referee or different VAR, someone in the VAR room maybe says, have a look at this, or it's worth having a look, and the ref maybe looks, gives a yellow, gives a red, doesn't give anything. And it's the problem we're having with VAR, because it was meant to come in and we were told it wasn't going to make it consistent. We were going to have some consistency in these decisions. And if anything, now it seems like decisions are more inconsistent than ever. And it just ruins the whole point of the game, because you want the game to be as fair as possible and you want the best team to win because they're the better team, not because, depending on who's the ref or who's in charge of the VAR, it changes the decision-making process. I understand that referee games differently, but when you have the replays back, the idea is to cut out the human error or the human differences in it, and it just doesn't seem to be going that way at the moment. But yeah, I think maybe the red card probably might have been a little harsh anyway. I think it's just both players really wanted the ball, and I think it's just unlucky with how it all turned out that it's ended up there. But at the same time, if it had been given, I think not many complaints could have been had as well.
Probably not, no. Just want to ask you about Tuchel's game plan. What did you think of that? I always advocated for starting Havertz. I thought he brought a bigger threat than Lukaku, and I did say in our preview that I think Lukaku would come on and maybe score, and obviously he nearly did with that fantastic save from Kelleher. But that was sort of the whole game, like Kelleher making decent saves or your players missing chances. But do you think Tuchel's game plan was spot on? Or
I think it was one of his better game plans he's had since he's come in, and he's had some really good ones, really. I think a lot of Chelsea fans were thinking that we were going to have to pull off a bit more of a defensive masterclass, soak up the pressure and try and maybe hit Liverpool on the counter-attack. But for long periods of the game, it almost went the other way around. We did really well, I think, in times to remain calm on the ball and not force it forward, which I think some teams do, where Liverpool lull them into this idea of, we can play that forward pass, then Liverpool win it, and then that's where Liverpool are extremely dangerous. But we kept the ball well. I think Marcus Alonso, was one player who a lot of fans, and I was really worried about playing there, and there was talk of, do we play Sarr there and try and compensate and have another more out-and-out defender there? But between him and Rudiger, I think they kept Salah really quiet, which was surprising, and obviously
No
there
mean
was
feat.
threat. What? No, it's not, especially the way he's
Yeah,
playing.
and I said that to you though, didn't I, yesterday in the during the match. I said Rudiger and Alonso needs to be perfect, and they pretty much were. They worked very, very well together against Salah to stop him, to fully neutralise him, really. He had one, I think, where he broke away from Alonso and he sort of he got in the box and then sort of had a shot and it got blocked. But apart from that, Liverpool didn't really have the Mane chance. Obviously, the Keita shot when Mendy saves out and then does an excellent save. But Mane's got to hit it higher. He's got to blast into the roof of the net or something. Not where he puts it, which is nice for Mendy, I think. But about on Mendy as well. I mean, I know we've spoken of this in while we was talking about the podcast and what we was planning on talking about, and the decision to bring on Kepa instead of a goalie who just plays out of his skin all game. I know he's got a good penalty saving record, but like Jamie Redknapp was saying, for me it was madness.
I think there's a few factors that play into the decision, and I think one of them is that Kepa has a really good penalty saving record, and not just in his career but at Chelsea, and he's made some really important saves in European semi-finals, cup finals. He's always managed to use his slightly probably maybe more athleticism and slightly better like how quick he is to move across the goal, and make some really good penalty saves. And Mendy had a fantastic game, but I think the other thing was it's something that was obviously it was planned and it would have been planned way before the game. And Mendy having the game that he had isn't something that I think if you keep Mendy in and then you go on to lose the penalty shootout, people then go, "Oh, Kepa's got such a good record. You've subbed Kepa on before and it's been successful. Why did you not do it this time?" And look, Kepa obviously in the penalty shootout was a poor performance from him in the shootout, but
he may as well not been stood in a goal.
Yeah, it was the right
Yeah.
decision if you're looking at it from an objective tactical point of view, and it was just one that didn't work out on the day, but on another day might have worked out, and that's just like the neither here or there with that. But I think Jamie Redknapp, like, he doesn't know what he's on about because he's not involved in it. He doesn't know anything about keepers' mindsets or how Chelsea have prepared tactically for the game. Whether like but he might have been practicing or like where players put their penalties all week and was trying to get and to give us that advantage. And obviously it didn't work out, but I still think it probably was the right decision. And I think Mendy as well was clearly accepting of that because he saw his name, he came off, he gave Kepa a few words of encouragement when he got subbed off during the shoot.
He didn't do a Kepa.
No, he didn't do a Kepa.
I just want to go on.
No, you go. Sorry.
Okay, go on. I just want to move on to the opposite keeper, Kelleher. Now, I know we never saved any in the shootout, but he was fantastic in the game. A lot of people before the game were quite critical of Klopp, saying, "Oh, Alisson's the best keeper in the world. He needs to play the game, no matter whether you've promised Kelleher in the press or not." Well, he shut them all up, didn't he? And then he used to be a striker till he was 15. So, to be fair, when he stepped up to take that pen, I wasn't very worried, even though he did say it in the aftermath, it was a hit and hope rather than relying on that sort of instinct from when he was younger. But either way, I'll take it. But I just want to give a shout out as well.
Yeah, I think what has to be praised from that is play, because it gave him a lot of confidence and belief into the game, which is something really important because you could see the confidence flowing through him. And that came out in the performance. So it was a really good decision by Klopp, and it shows how much he trusts every member of his squad, including his backup keeper. He had a really good game as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and obviously some of the penalties from some of the Chelsea penalties just seemed to go in, but for me it was like the likes of Fabinho with the chip, the Van Dijk one where Kepa's literally stood that side and he still blasted past them. Trent's was just sensational, like technique wise as well, and that. So I just think the penalties were better from us, and Kelleher could have got to a couple of yours, I think. But overall, like you said, either team could have won it. pens is a lottery, and I'm just happy that it was my team and not your team. You know,
Yeah,
but on another
but I
day,
think,
it could have been.
yeah, it could have gone the other way. And I think as what Chelsea need to do as a team, and I think what the fan base needs to do is, yes, we lost the final. Yes, it's a disappointment. To move on from it. You need to take the positives out of the game. We went toe to toe with maybe the best team in Europe at the moment, and we showed that we were worth the competing with them. And it shows that when you're looking forward to progressing in the cup, progressing in the Champions League next season, if we're wanting to compete for the title again, that we have the ability to play like this.
Yeah, and I think despite the defeat, obviously, as you say, there's a lot of positives to take for Chelsea. They went toe-to-toe with one of the best clubs in the world, a club who were fighting for a quadruple at the moment. And it's, as Mo Salah captained his Instagram, one of four or something like that, I think he put. So, or what, number one complete or something like that, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting time to be a Liverpool fan. We've never fought for a quadruple in my lifetime. So, but that'll just give the lads confidence as well to go on and maybe win the Premier League, win the Champions League. It's just that win and feel. And I would think City have been doing it, you know what I mean? And speaking of our rivals, Man City, a very contentious decision that probably helped them get the 3 points on Saturday night.
Yeah,
what did you make of that, John?
It's not even contentious. It's just a shockingly bad decision. Look, we've moaned about VAR in the final enough, but this might be the worst decision of the week. Like, there's a lot of times where I'm willing to play devil's advocate and try and understand what the thought processes are when they make these sort of decisions. But with this one, it's just plain stupidity. Like,
despicable.
The ball hits his arm.
And it's in the area. It's the shirt sleeves are cut off, and it's under the shirt sleeve, like definitively as well. So there's no debate about it.
Yeah, and look, Frank Lampard said he's got a 3-year-old daughter who knew that was a penalty, and it's hard to disagree with him. And
no, you can't.
It is a really, really poor decision, and it probably did give City an extra 2 points in a very, very close title race,
which could decide it. They've already had several dodgy decisions like that penalty. I've had several dodgy handball penalties, specifically the one that won the game against Wolves and such. And it's like these decisions have got to start evening out, otherwise it's just going to make for a very boring title race.
Yeah.
At this point, they weren't good. I didn't think City. I thought Everton's midfield three were fantastic. I think it was Alan Decore and Van der Beek, wasn't it? I thought Van der Beek specifically was brilliant.
Yeah.
But Lampard got his game plan spot on, like frustrate City. And obviously, it's a defensive calamity that ends up doing them, as well as not getting that penalty. But who knows? They might not even have scored it. But yeah, that defensive calamity is just like a big knife to Lampard's back, really.
It's what you don't need when you're trying to get points. And it's exactly what happens when you're trying to get points near the bottom of the table. And yeah, look, Lampard had this habit of Chelsea of, there was sometimes criticism of the way we set up and maybe too defensively open, but every now and again we'd play aside and there'd be a lot of worry and he'd get the plan spot on. And I think against City, he really did get that plan spot on. And even with the mistake, they should have had a penalty and they probably should have drawn the game. And it is just another hammer blow because that is the sort of games that make people think, oh, it's just we're not gonna get anything like. And we saw today that they've put an appeal in about certain decisions that they're not happy with, and like based off this one, you can't really argue that it's because it is just a shocking decision.
Well, it's like we see with the Sheffield United versus Villa the other year, and the goal line technology wasn't switched on, and it ultimately led to Villa staying up and Sheffield going down. So it's these decisions can prove vital at both ends, not just the title race for Liverpool and for City, but for like Everton and the clubs around them as such. And speaking of one of the clubs, obviously we've only really covered this in short detail, but it wasn't really that interesting a match, I didn't think, so I don't think it needs much more detail. So we'll move on to another side that are in and around the relegation zone and might be in a little bit of trouble, and I think he may be even more trouble now that they have sacked Marcelo Bielsa, Leeds United. Now, for me, I just don't see the logic behind it. Yes, they have lost 5 of the last 6 games, but they've played the likes of Liverpool, Tottenham, Everton, who aren't actually a bad team, even though they are down there.
United as well.
United, yeah. And that was a good game. They gave a good fight back in that game. But I think what has done for him is how stubborn he's been. He hasn't really changed nothing tactically. He's just sort of throw these players in and hope to do the job in my system.
Yeah, I think I think what maybe was probably not so the results, but maybe the defensive performances. I think there was some of that in February. They conceded more goals than City have the entire season, and it's not like it doesn't paint a good picture if you're a Leeds fan. But like I've been a big fan of Bielsa, but I also think that he does have a ceiling, and the way he plays, there is a ceiling to it because in some ways it's not sustainable. There is a link between injuries and things that happen with the way he plays, and he does have quite a small squad. But sacking him now is not gonna. I don't think anyone really is in a position unless they hit the ground running really, really well to get them out of this position better than Bielsa would have been. And like we said, like the chairman Rajazani said it was the toughest decision he's had to make in charge of Leeds as the owner, and I can understand that because they've been on a journey with Bielsa. He's taken them back to the place where they've been longing to be for so many years as the club and the size of the club they are, and they love him to bits. And it would have been a hard decision, and I think in some ways it's probably the wrong decision as well.
I think for me, yeah. And they're talking about bringing in Jesse March, who's just not long been sacked from Leipzig, a very promising club with some very promising talents. Yes, they did sell some of the best talents, and Sibic, Upamecano and Kanate, say. But still, had a very good side behind them. Sacked after 4 months, after just 5 wins in 14 games. And he's a manager with, obviously, he's known to have a system, but it's a system that can't be implemented straight away. Leeds need something that can be implemented straight away.
Yeah, I think with Jesse March, obviously he's been with the Red Bull group of football clubs for a while. He was obviously the manager of Red Bull Salzburg before the Leipzig job, and I think as well he might have been at Red Bulls for a little bit as an assistant or in some capacity as well. But yeah, he does have a system. I think at Leipzig he obviously didn't do as well as probably they expected him to be or he expected. But yeah, I think he is a good manager, but I think he's a manager where you'd want him to come in at the start of the pre-season rather than at the battle end of a Premier League season where every game's going to be like trench warfare and you need to dig in and find an extra bit of something to stay up. But yeah, I mean, they'll obviously have to back him and the Leeds fans will have to get behind him as disappointed as they are, and they'll have to hope that he's got enough about him to keep them up. But I think
apparently they've been tracking him for analysing him in case Bielsa did go for 2 years, and obviously we know he's got this pressing control and possession kind of football, but can he implement that in 3 months?
It's not even 3 months. He's got to implement it as soon as he gets there, and we know how hard that is, and it is going to be interesting. Look, if they have been looking at him for that long, maybe there's more to it. Maybe they do think that he's the right fit, and maybe it will work a lot better than we think it will. But I'm not very confident in it, and I think it gives the teams around Leeds a lot more hope that they're going to struggle, and I think it gives Leeds a lot bigger of a mountain to climb to stay in the league this season.
Yeah, like his Salzburg team did only concede on a goal every 2 games. What is it? A goal a game across his 2 seasons at Salzburg. But Salzburg are the dominant team, and that's no one's coming close to them. And then at Leipzig, it all went tits up. So it's and he's still got no Phillips, no Bamford. I'm not sure when they're back yet, but could be a very dangerous time to be a Leeds fan.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll wrap up on a positive note though about a team who are rapidly becoming in danger. Brentford, and it's the return of Christian Eriksen. Now, Brentford got beat 2-0 by relegation rivals Newcastle on the weekend, but that didn't dampen the spirits as this man come back from his terrible happening at the Euros, where he obviously suffered a cardiac arrest or something of the like. Obviously, that was very harrowing scenes, but it's great to see this man back on a football pitch, in my opinion. At his peak, he was one of the best attacking mids in the Premier League. He was compared with the likes of Coutinho, your Ozils, players like that. It's great to see him back on a football pitch. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think I remember watching that Denmark game, and it was really sad. You saw his wife there with, I think it was Schmeichel and Kier, the captain, trying to comfort her, and it did look like it was not just career ending; it might be life ending for him. And for him to come back on a pitch, regardless of the way he plays, is one of the bravest things probably in football, to come back after something like that and be willing to put your mental health, is it, almost through that, and your nerves and your body through that. And look, hopefully as well he can start performing and give Brentford just enough to keep them up as well, because it would only add to the feel good nature of this. But yeah, it's a real positive, and it's really good for him, and it's a good sight to see, really, and a positive thing for football.
Yeah, just to end on something, I really did like the show of solidarity all weekend from all the football. Like in the final, they had the Chelsea and Liverpool players all got together and stuff, and then they had like the fans. They had Ukraine flags, and they had like Ukraine on the screen, the stadium and stuff. It was just really nice. And obviously in the Everton City game, you had like Michalenko and Zinchenko embracing and stuff, and all the crowd clapping it and all that. And it was just a really, really nice moment to see that everyone's united in this. Apparently Spartak are getting kicked out the Europa League. Leipzig might receive a bye, or maybe they'll play the other team who Spartak beat. I don't know what's going to happen with that yet. We'll keep an eye on that and let you know, guys.
I think
thanks for listening.
Just to end as well, talking about the positive like sentiment about the Ukraine thing, there was the Benfica game. David Nunes came off, and Yaramchuk, who's obviously Ukrainian striker, came on, and he was given the armband and he was given a standing ovation, and he put on Instagram that it was like he was in tears as well, and it meant a lot. And it is important that, because of that, this message gets spread across, because football is such a powerful platform these days. We've seen that with things like the Super League, so it's really important that we, like football clubs and football fans, do stand together in this, because it's so easy to be divided because of how football is. But we do really need to stand together sometimes, and this is the perfect example of when.
Yeah, I just want to add on that as well. Like people say, like, keep your politics out of football and all that, but on stuff like this, it matters. Like the Black Lives Matter, like obviously this Ukraine stuff, it matters, and it should be. I'm not bothered with what people say. It should be brought into football. We should show solidarity. At the end of the day, people don't deserve to be racially abused, and people don't deserve to have their country and their lives and their families' lives and their friends' lives ripped apart from beneath them by a hostile country. At the end of the day, so that's all we'll say on that, though. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy all this week's football, and obviously come back to us and we'll be talking about it next episode. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, and also obviously follow us on the Instagram and the Twitter, which are up there, like you can see. Because there's only two of us, you can see it this time. It's a problem when it's three of us. It overlays one of us on the top, so you can't see it, but you can see it this time. So if you're not already, go and subscribe. See you next time.
See ya.